Good afternoon. My name is Jenny Lesser. I'm the Business Development Manager here at United Training. Welcome to today's webinar titled Exploring Power BI as Your Business Intelligence Solution, presented by Christian McGee. We are using the GoToWebinar platform, so please ask questions in the questions panel if you have them. We are excited to present this webinar, and we encourage you to visit unitedtraining.com to find more training on Power BI classes. I will now hand it over to you.
Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that. Welcome to any and all of you that are in attendance this afternoon. We're going to try and make this very short and sweet. I know it is during the lunch hour and scheduled for 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes, but we'll see how it goes. When I'm done, if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. But this is just meant to be an introduction to the Power BI platform and its utilization as a business intelligence solution. And hopefully you'll gain enough information to where you will, at the conclusion of this presentation, consider using United Training as your solution provider for training and attend one of our very extremely popular Power BI training classes. They are typically 5 days in length. They're in depth, and they are one of the more popular training courses of the day. They run quite frequently and are we enjoy great attendance in these courses. So without further ado, let's get this started. Talk a little bit about exploring your Power BI as a business intelligence solution for your organization. And we'll start out by defining kind of the reasons behind utilizing Power BI. So first and foremost is the way people are utilizing data these days is changing quite drastically over the years here. So the trend in business intelligence is, or data analysis is moving away from just plain historical analysis. All right. The self-service utilization and the access of data from multitudes of resources and data sources is kind of driving this whole thing. The self-service reporting analysis, it's argued that perhaps you could say that self-service BI has been around since, well, spreadsheets in reality. You know, the popularity and universal adoption of Excel as a wonderful Microsoft's hallmark application out of the Office suite is really driving this and has allowed this trend to continue. Excel at one point introduced the integration of a number of tools that they referred to as power tools, your Power Pivot, your Power Query, Power View, Power Map. So if you were an Excel user, this allowed you as a user to begin acquiring data from really a myriad of sources and aggregate that data, model that data, transform that data, and begin to present that data in sophisticated visualizations. And this whole attraction of Excel and these power tools and the independence that it offered the business user, this self-service independence, is really what began driving the creation or the invention really of Power BI. If you're one of those Excel Power users and you're familiar with, say, Power Query, that interface has been ported into Power BI. There's a lot of things that you will recognize as an extension of Excel in many ways. Using a more sophisticated reporting solution is really what Power BI is going to begin providing. Excel is great and wonderful, but it's all in all, it's a spreadsheet, right? It's still a spreadsheet, and as great as it is, the ability to begin disseminating information is another one of the trends here. Another way of managing this data, these data visualizations, is what drove helped drive the creation of Power BI as a platform as well. The addition here of an increased adoption of lots of organizations, not just of great size anymore, is also driving, one of the driving trends in BI. It used to be that business intelligence was kind of left, and on a large scale, was kind of left to the large business, right? Because it required cost, it required thought as far as implementation goes. It required expertise. Basically, what we would describe this as is often described as a managed solution. And you might be familiar with a managed solution in the form of SQL Server reporting services, SSRS, right? This is not meant to supplant that, but that managed solution was really kind of left was the wheelhouse of the large organization that, in all honesty, could afford to do it, right? They had the staff, they had the resources, they had the people that could develop reporting solutions. That managed solution doesn't necessarily go away, but again, the trend these days is that this is affordable, right? This is, again, back to the self-service side of things. It once was just reserved for big organizations, large budgets, people that can throw money at data warehousing projects, right? But this solution here is bringing data analysis to the masses, both small and large. These are by and large driven by your major vendors providing out-of-box solutions. The out-of-box solution that we're talking about from Microsoft is obviously the Power BI, but there are others. There's Tableau, there's Salesforce, there's Click, there are other larger solutions. Microsoft obviously has a reporting solution, but this is an out-of-box solution. You can license a sophisticated solution. Some of these are more expensive than others, but your ability here, depending on the vendor, some of them are expensive, require expensive client licenses, and in some cases, some trained users to generate the report. So, but all in all, this is where the trend is going: a movement away from just historical data, the ability to gather data from many resources, the self-service part of this, without having to rely on an IT staff to develop your major reporting solutions. The ability of organizations of all sizes to take a solution and implement it in an out-of-box manner. And that's what Power BI is. All right. So with regards to data sources, this is one of the strengths that we began to see with the 4 Power tools that were integrated into Excel, right? Is data is becoming more accessible, all right? The whole on-premise database is not being relegated as a thing of the past. It is definitely one of your sources, and will probably remain a valuable source for analytics within your own organization. But anymore, data is that an organization wants to analyze is typically not going to remain confined to this on-premise database server or servers. The online world is bringing third-party services. There are publicly available data sets, and these data sets and this external data that's not just in on-premise databases is very much part of your regular data landscape. The boundaries of data have expanded to disparate locations in the cloud, and these data sources, right, become data sources that you're likely wanting to integrate into your reporting services. Right, so slide deck here to go. Publicly available data sets, third-party services, software as a service, cloud services. You got cloud databases, you've got Azure SQL database, Azure Marketplace, HD Insight, blob storage, table storage. You've got software as a service, Google Analytics. I mean, if Facebook is a data source, MailChimp, Bing, GitHub, Zendesk, the list goes on for third-party services, in addition to just simple files. If you want to integrate, file-based data, Excel, JSON, XML, these can all be part of your third-party solutions. As a matter of fact, there's over 120 at this point, and the count keeps going up of integrated data connectors for Power BI. All right, they're all 120 free. Some are maybe a little in beta, but I mean this number is huge. Honestly, there's typically more than enough. What a lot of times what I say when we're discussing some of the data sources in class is I'm like, you can get data from just about anywhere, whether it's Teradata, it's Oracle, it's Sybase, if it's SAP HANA, if it's PostgreSQL, if it's Facebook. If you want to integrate a Facebook connector and grab data from Facebook or MailChimp or GitHub or Google, those things are all part of it. They're in the landscape, right? And so the days of just gathering data and using data and integrating data for analytics and largely a historical perspective with on-premise databases is really, we're moving away from that trend, right? These online world data sets are definitely, and you typically want an intermingling of this data with business operations to perhaps gain additional insight into data that and gain understanding that you might not have known was there, right? So with that, the question becomes, okay, so what is Power BI? All right, well, as mentioned, it really is kind of a it was the concept was on the Microsoft side of things was in large part driven by the Excel power users, right? But when we discuss what is Power BI from this standpoint in just a short presentation, there's a couple of ways to describe it. It kind of depends on your perspective. In class, we address it from a couple of different ways. First of all, from the standpoint of the end user and the consumer, it's just data made visual, right? It consists largely of visualizations. That's the whole point, ultimately, is making data and representing it visually. I think we all know the power that Excel had in its own charts and graphs. Those are visualizations. Power BI has that as well. And if you want to create custom visualizations, that possibility exists. There's a large community of people that create visualizations that are free to use. There's hundreds of them that you can integrate, but it is the idea is any large amounts of data, raw data, it's hard to gain insight from. Power BI has the ability to make that visualization, and the point is to, at a glance, perhaps gain insight into data rather than try and have to decipher the raw data itself. I mean, we can look at a spreadsheet, and you can take time and you can analyze it, and you could gain some, understanding of what it is you're looking at. You can have, perhaps, define key performance indicators and a few things there. But if you can visualize data, create graphs and charts, and the ability to look at data at a glance and decipher what's going on is the whole point of it, right? You can use it to quickly make reports. Definitely import data. You can have data sources from multitudes of sources, combine them together, and publish your reports in the cloud, or if need be, if you don't have and are not going to be implementing the cloud side of this thing, it is possible for you to implement it without that and do it on premise, right? A large portion of the functionality, though, is by default is going to be utilizing the cloud-based portion of this. We can create and share dashboards. Disseminating the information is where this starts to really begin to shine. Your ability to utilize the cloud side of this and make this information available, these reports and these dashboards, and share them in that respect to other users, is where we're leaving the whole world of the wonderful spreadsheet behind, right? It also gives you the ability to ask questions about your data. Utilizing the online services, there is a fair amount of AI going on in the background, and you can literally, with a little bit of tweaking, you can begin to use just what we call natural language queries, where you could literally just type in a question associated with a dashboard and say, how many customers in Los Angeles, California, in that form, and that natural language query would return an answer to you in the form of a visualization. Okay, so that is an ongoing on the Microsoft side of things, and on the back end in the cloud service. That's an ongoing feature that is evolving due to the ever increasing value and accuracy of the artificial intelligence that's backing that up. Your other side of this, when we ask what is Power BI, is, well, in technical terms, it's a suite of tools is what it amounts to, right? It amounts to something called the Power BI desktop, which is a free application that can be installed on a user's workstation. It's not Excel, but it's an application that you use to create these visualizations and import the data and model and massage the data. All right. But so first and foremost, the Power BI desktop, you can go out, and if you just want to download it from the Professor Google, you can, or you can go grab it out of the Microsoft Store for free. The advantage is that it's kept up to date in that sense. This is an application that it's quickly evolving. This application literally has a wealth of new features added to it every single month. On or about the 10th of the month, I kind of gauge it. There's a new update or new version of the Power BI desktop that is pushed out, and it is almost always there's enough features in there that one or two of them you look at and go, oh, that's a good feature. I like that. So this is not this application has a huge backing by Microsoft, in that it is definitely an evolving, ever more useful piece of software. They are making it more useful, more functional on a very, very regular basis. There's typically so many updates to this that what Microsoft will do is they will publish on the monthly release, they'll publish your reading material that goes along with it, but at the same time there's a video that they put out, and that's typically what I'll do is I'll sit back with a cup of coffee and I'll watch somebody explain to me rather than me have to read about it what the new features are in a video format with demonstrations. And I find it convenient that way because there really are a lot of changes that occur on this on a regular basis. So it is a suite of tools, Power BI Desktop being the first one. There's also something called the Power BI Service. This is the cloud side, right? We refer to the Power BI Service as an online Azure-based, tenant-based service where we can, from the desktop, we can create our reports and incorporate our data, import data, make associations with the data, build our visualizations, and then effectively publish it into the Power BI service. All right. The Power BI service is that cloud side of things. Okay, so that's the second piece. There is, if need be, you can also install on-premise a Power BI server, right? There's a Power BI server that integrates with SQL Server Reporting Services, SSRS, that while not free, kind of depends on who you are and where you're at already license-wise. If you are running SQL Server Enterprise Edition and you're paying for software assurance, then it's free to you. You're quote unquote free. It's like you're licensed for it already, I guess I should say. But you could use the Power BI report server instead of or in lieu of the Power BI service. It's meant to be, there are some organizations that are not going to that strictly say, hey, we're not going to use the Power BI service. We're not going to integrate, the cloud side of things is either not allowed or unappealing for whatever reason. But the Power BI report server can be used instead of that. So you have that piece. And then you also have another piece that we refer to as Power BI Mobile. Right? You can publish your reports in a fashion very, very easily, so that if you have mobile users with, say, an Android phone, or they're running, the iOS on Apple, you can publish these reports and these dashboards and make them readily available. There are client applications. If you go out to the Google Play Store and you install the Power BI mobile client, you would log in with your Azure-based credentials, and the reports are there available to you in a mobile fashion. You can set alerts, you can set KPI alerts. You can interact, you can annotate the reports. There's all kinds of ways, and it's really quite simple on the Power BI mobile side of things. That is also evolving quite rapidly too, and making it more and more user friendly. right? Adding additional feature sets to it as you go. So publishing and making available reports for those mobile users on handheld devices as such is actually quite easy. So the whole thing is, I can quickly create reports using either the app. I can actually create reports in the Power BI service portal as well, but it's personal preference. It's more convenient with the Power BI desktop. Grab data from files from wherever, whether it's on-premise databases or software as a service, combine data sources into a report, publish the report into the cloud or on-premise, create dashboards on the portal, share the dashboards with colleagues, view the reports in the dashboards with Power BI Mobile, right, with the app for iOS or Android devices. I can also publish reports and integrate reports and use embed codes to embed reports into SharePoint Online. If I want to, I could use Power BI Premium, which is an additional cost, but I could make reporting available in a public-facing web application as well. The idea here again is when it comes to, this is where a lot of the power starts to show up again is, I mean, while Excel was great and wonderful, you couldn't do any of that, right? So Power Business Intelligence gives us the ability to create these visualizations and disseminate this information in a very out-of-box solution. It's really quite easy to do, and the solution is rather intuitive for people that are on the analytics side of things. So why Power BI? Well, again, self-service is the whole thing, right? That's really where we start to. The idea here is business intelligence has moved into this self-service world. Right. The more we can take the IT department out of reporting services and put it into the hands of the end user and the analyst and self-service is cost effective. Right. Things happen faster. The users can become self-sufficient. They don't have to rely on IT to generate reports and build data cubes and MOLAP and ROLAP and populate. I mean, you can still do that, right? And Power BI can hook into that stuff as well, right? But self-service is the name of the game these days. So it's a really quick start. Very easy to publish data as we just went through. I'll demonstrate publishing some data here in a moment into the Power BI service. The data can become, you got the capability to have data that is in these, in the reports and the dashboards you build be updated real time, all right? I can hook what we call live connections straight into a report can be directly connected into a database or a data source. And as data changes, the reports can update real time. Right, so real-time update capability is possible. All right, and highly customizable as far as when you're building reports for navigation through the reports. If you, as the person creating the reports gains expertise in managing the visualizations, navigation through the reports, drill through report interaction from one report to the other, filtering, all of that is possible with Power BI. So you always have to say the word security in any kind of presentation like this. So there is security. There is what we refer to one of the methods that I like. That is rather a nifty method is what we call RLS, or row level security. So I could have a report that I've published that the person opening the report only when they go view that particular report that I published, they only see data that they're meant to see, right? Somebody else opens the same report. When they view the report, they see data. The report is customized on the fly. They only get to see the data that is meant for them, right? It is possible to build this security filter right into the report. If you're only supposed to see data, sales data from the Northeast, sales data from the Northeast shows up on the report. If you're supposed to see sales data from the Southwest and you open it, then that's the only data you see, right? So the security and access filtering, with some effort, it's not without a little bit of effort, but it's not hard to do. RLS is possible, and this can be configured on the part of the report designer, the person building the Power BI reporting. So RLS, that's one of the things that over time Microsoft has actually simplified. It used to be kind of difficult. Again, Microsoft is definitely working hard to make this type of interface much more user friendly over all the time. There's even, I don't know if this is a plus or a minus. There is Cortana integration if you want that. I mean, you could literally, I won't say that this is, without fault, but it is possible for you to ask questions of your data utilizing Cortana. So the reports can integrate with Cortana, whatever the case may be. So let's talk a little bit about this. Let me do a demo here. So just slide to go forward. There we go. All right. Let me kill this. So what we're seeing here is what we call, move some of this out of the way, is what is referred to as the Power BI desktop. Okay. So this is an application that is, again, free to install. So one of the first things you want to do is grab data, all right, from wherever you want. Here, right here on the front page here, it says import data from Excel or from SQL, but I can get it from a myriad of other data sources using this straight up interface here, or from my tool ribbon up here, I'll just say get data, and we'll get a full list here as well. Eventually, there we go. So these are data connectors. As you can, some of these, honestly, I don't know what they are. I'll be honest, there's some of these I'm like, I don't know what that data source is, right? So there's some of these are very specific for very, particular sources, right? You can see some of these connectors are in beta, right? They eventually come out of beta, but there's literally, they're categorized here. I can pull these from any number of places. Let's see, I've got a SQL Server here. Let's just keep it simple. And I'm going to have to remember the connection string here. I'm going the long way around. I actually have the connection string saved up here from a recent data source, but I'm going to go ahead and type it in. Sure works. Let me double check here. I'm trying to remember the database name. I think it's DW 2016. We shall see. Let me pull up my SQL Server here. What do they say? Measure twice, cut once. Right, so that's correct. Let me find that. I can't remember the name of the database I want to use here. It's AdventureWorks DW 2016. There we go. We'll do that. So AdventureWorks DW 2016 should do it. There's a couple of ways my connectivity can be. I can import the data, or I could make it a live direct query connection. All right. Or, and this is just grabbing the tables, I can even, if I've got tables or views or stored procedures that I want to use and execute in SQL statements, I can do it that way too. All right. But this is probably, in some cases, writing a SQL statement might not be, you know, that analyst's forte. They might not understand that. So we'll just keep it simple. All right. And I'll just say import the data. We'll go grab full data sets. All right, there's my tables and my views. All right, straight off the server. Let's grab about a couple of fact tables here. Don't know where I'm going with this, kind of winging it. So internet sales, that'll work. I'll grab my fact tables here. All right, this will select the related tables for me on the dimensions for me automatically. Now at this point, I can just straight up load them, or I can begin a transformation of the data. All right, I'll load them and I can always come back and transform the data after load. So let me grab the data first. I'll just load it. This is actually retrieving the data from the databases, from the database and these tables, and it's pulling it all in. It is pulling all of this data over to my workstation here on the desktop, on the Power BI desktop. All these rows are coming in. Man, I never have enough time for these things. I always, whenever whenever I do these presentations, I think, man, I don't have enough to talk about. And then I end up thinking, I don't have enough time. So over here, you can see that the tables came in. All right. Here's the fields that are associated with the tables are all listed here, and I can investigate the fields. I've got aggregates built for me as well. It's all part of it. Comes in rather quickly. And here's a list of default visualizations. This by no means are you relegated to just these visualizations, these charts and graphs. There's a whole marketplace of these that you can go grab from online. There's hundreds of them out there. These are the ones that that come with as the default install. And honestly, they're probably quite enough in many cases. Let's see, move some of this out of the way here. Let's look at fact reseller sales here. How about, should have some total sales in here, I think. Sales amounts. There it is. All right, so a number of ways to go about this. I can just check this off, and it starts to add a visualization over here in a very simple form here to my design surface. All right. Let's look at another field here. I can spend hours doing this. How about we want to manage sales amounts by, how about, gender? Drop gender on there, male, female. That's a quick way. How about also, what else do I have in here? I think marital status is in here, right? JK. There it is. Single, married, not married. Let's drop that. Now, let's make this a little larger. So this at this point here, you can see where we're going with this. I've got some values here, and I can spend a lot of time managing what this visualization looks like, right? I can change the default nature of the visualizations. There's lots of these. It's real simple for me. Some of these obviously make more sense than others, right? Different visualizations work better for different kinds of data. I can view raw data if I want, but this kind of clustered bar chart here works well for something as simple as this. I can manage the format of this. Let's make just a couple of changes here. Data colors. All right, highly customizable stuff. Data labels. If we want to turn labels on, we can. Let's drop in some background here. Let's change the position of a few things. Let's change where's the title here? Data colors, data labels, title. What do we want to call this? We'll just call it, well, that works. Sales amount by gender and status works for me. That's not a bad label. Let's font. Let's align, center, align. Microsoft would describe this as your ability to make stunning reports. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, although I am not, I wouldn't consider myself that creative. Right? So here, this is just a simple report here. We can look at the actual data that's been pulled in here from changing my design surface. I can also look at the model that's been created. The model is auto detected between these tables. If I wanted to go grab other data sources and incorporate it in here, I definitely could. I can go get more data, right? I just went and made an initial get data, right? But if I have other data sources I wanted to bring in, let me see if I've got one just for the fun of it. I think I've got one that I did the other day. Look, this one right here. This is a web page right here. I went out to you guys familiar with the IMDb movie page, right? This is the top 250 movies that's on the web page. I grabbed this as a data source. So that's a recent data source. I'm just going to reuse it. And I'll pull this data in as well. Right here. All right, so check that off. Looks good to me. I'll load it. This is pulling in another set of data here, another data source. Now, obviously it's not really relative to the sales data here, but I'm running short of time. So let's look at, there's the data pull up right here. Here's the data pulled in, right? Let's rename this data source here. We'll just call it top 250 movies. Let's do some transformation here. So one of the major things that I can do with the data is, and if you're familiar with the Power Query stuff, is I can transform data. And this pulls up another interface. This is a separate interface here. This is the Power Query Editor. This might look familiar to some of you. If I come over here to my top 250 movies, all right, I can begin transforming some of this data here. So for example, this column right here appears to be useless. Let's remove it. All right. This column right here, I don't know what that is. Let's get rid of that column. Let's get rid of both of these. We'll pull these out. So what I'm doing here is I'm modifying the query, right? Whenever I do this with my data, this is if I run a data refresh, it will automatically apply these settings. I can do the same thing in a number in my other data here as well. For example, I'll show you here in a second. Let's do another quick transformation. Let's see, how about transform here? Wonder what else we could do. Let's do this. How about, let's split the column out. Those numbers there, 1, 2, 3, 4, those rankings, let's change that out. We'll split that out by a delimiter. Let's change the delimiter to, I think that period should do it. On the left-hand side. Boom. Okay, so now let's rename the title. Let's rename this and we'll just call it rank. All right, so that pulled that out. I'm transforming the data. All right, over here, maybe I want to split. Let's do this. All of these years that are here, let's do it again. All right. Split the column by that. That works for me. All right. Let's rename this column year. Let's get rid of the right-hand parenthesis here. So we can replace the value, find that parenthetical and just replace it with an empty string, right? All of these steps right here, everything that I'm doing is being recorded. This is part of the query. So when I'm done, close and apply, it saves it, all right? It's applying that to my data set. All there. Same thing. There's other data sets that I pulled in. These other values from the database, from the SQL Server database. If I go back to the Power Query Editor again, choose another data set like how about this that employee table that we're working with a moment ago was right. Where's that here? All right. Let's say the data is, where's that gender and marital status column here, right? Let's change the M for marital status. Replace that value. Everywhere means married. Oops. And I'm running out of time here. I'll publish this report here in a second. So married, do the same thing for single. I can come in here and spend quite a bit of time transforming this data, right? Over and over. G for gender is single, and you know, all of this. Let's replace this. I'll finish this one off. All right. And close and apply. Anytime I refresh this data from the data source from here, it automatically reapplies all of that, right? So now I've got, anytime I hit this, it goes out, retrieves the data again. I'm not changing the data at the source, I'm changing it here. And those are queries that are, those rules that I create in the query are being reapplied, right? So at some point, you're all happy with your beautiful, stunning report, as Microsoft puts it. You want to publish it. So I'm already currently logged in. I'm going to publish this. Save my changes. I'm going to save it as a file. It's a PBIX file here. Let's just call it demo sales. All right. So the visualization and all of the data I'm going to publish into a I have a generic workspace up there in the Power BI service right now called Workspace. I'll push this up. This will take a minute, and then we'll go view it as it exists online. This is just too much fun, honestly. This is a fun class, by the way. we get a lot of good questions going on here. So this has been published. I'm going to open it straight up. They give me a link right here that lets me open the URL. Oh, it just popped up on my other screen. So here it goes. It's logging me in. So this is the Power BI service. This is the service now that is my location online. So this report right here, here's my data set right here. Right, my data set exists. All of the data that was pushed up here. Here's my report. My report exists here. All right. I can take this report and I can publish this into an object we call a dashboard, and I can take reports from lots of different reports, different visualizations from multitudes of reports, and create a single unified dashboard. Oops, dash, spelling counts, just call it demo dash. This is creating another object, another interface up here called a dashboard, and this is the dashboard. All right. I can use this dashboard and grant access to this. I can have subscribers. I can share this dashboard out with users. I can allow users to utilize the content, save the dashboard. I can create the report itself. I can come back to the report. I can use and create embed codes here that will embed my reports in SharePoint Online. I can create embed codes to publish out to the web. I can export it to PDF and PowerPoint. There's a myriad of ways that I can grant users and create and enable users to interact and view these particular reports that I'm using. And I didn't have time, but I only created a single report. Let me I've got another over here. Let me show you. Here's another. These reports themselves are interactive. So as users interact with the reports, notice how the values are changing in the other reports. Slice and dice reports. So as I click on these, right, the reports are interacting with one another. This is these are blank by for I use this in class for demonstration purposes. That I can eliminate that anomaly there, just so you know. I use this as a teaching mechanism here to show how to keep these from going blank. But this is, I mean, when you start interacting with the reports like this, customer counts, sales, reseller quantities, internet customers, these are all, and these are pretty generic visualizations, and I can publish all of this, make them part of one or more dashboards, and share the data with numerous people. Okay, so let's see here. I am totally running out of time. We are down to 5 minutes. I was hoping to leave a little bit longer time, but typically, do you guys have any questions?
So no questions have come in yet. We did have a couple of comments about how cool this was and how there are so many options. I think some of our attendees here are very new to this, so I think we'll follow up with some recommendations on classes to take to learn more.
Good. Yeah, it is. It's if you're considering taking the Power BI course, you guys, it is super fun. It's there's a lot of hands-on work involved, and it is one of our most popular classes these days for obvious reasons. Data analytics is a huge marketplace. This skill set is extremely valuable as well, so I highly recommend it. And If you have no questions, I'm going to just let Jenny take over, and we'll call it.
Yep, that was
It's a
great.
pleasure.
Again, we'll share the recording. We so appreciate all of that great information. If you do want to find out more about classes, we will send that to you. You can also visit unitedtraining.com, and we'll let you guys go. Thanks again for your time.